Everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. I'm Denise, and this will be your astrology reading for the week of June 26th. We're going to go from Sunday through to July 2nd, Saturday. So we have a couple things this week coming up, and I have special charts for them. And one is Neptune Retrograde, and the other is the new moon in Cancer, about 7 degrees Cancer. So with that said, let me bring the camera over here over my table and get started on these charts. And meanwhile, I wanted to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week. Big hugs. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, so for Sunday, I'm starting out at 6 a.m. Pacific time. And so adjust, according to your time zone. And I always have to use the Zero Aries chart setup because I don't know where you are. So I will not be, like I always say, if I forget, please remember that, if I ever forget, please remember that I can't give any information about the houses because that all depends on an exact time of the chart in your area. So that's why I always have to go with this setup. But the thing I'm drawn to here is, let's talk about this first, even though I'm not going with the sun newly in Cancer, which we ended, last week talking about that, I think. But I'm drawn to, so of course the nodal axis is always in opposition, which brings in the ability to reconcile something. So the Taurus North Node is balancing out they're both, this polarity of Taurus and Scorpio. We're in that realm of sinking into what we really want, what we really need, what matters most to us, and these are all, Taurian, Taurus qualities, and what we own, what makes us feel secure, our self-preservation. It always has to do with being really faithful to yourself and not needing to please others based on how you look, what you have. It's a test. Taurus and Venus are always a test in getting out of what I call appearance values and letting go of being a certain way in order to get approval or love. Okay? And that's why with this balancing out of the South Node in Scorpio, we have Scorpio intimacy and trust issues because we can have betrayal with Scorpio. But if you don't betray yourself, if you don't ever, we all do, who knows how many times and how many lifetimes we have to go through to work it out. But if we stop, as we stop, to the degree we stop betraying ourselves and betraying the best in ourselves, then we develop really healthy, intimate relationships where you can talk to your friend about anything and it doesn't matter, what they're going through or what they believe. You're going to love them anyway. And you don't even have to have a meeting of the minds half the time, or any part of the time. It's just a matter of we're always working through something, and the deal is just to accept each other and accept your loved ones. But now, if you have to set healthy boundaries, that's what Cancer's all about. Scorpio can do it really well too. Now, healthy boundaries is another whole, separate. I could talk forever on that, just about. So I'll just suffice to say that with Uranus here, conjunct the North Node in the mix and in opposition, again, to this South Node here, we have changes because Uranus always wakes us up. It helps us. So in combination with this polarity here where we're reconciling something within, who do we trust? How do I trust myself? What do I really want? what do I need to say with all this Gemini energy here about my real needs with Cancer Sun, right? With the Sun in Cancer. It's all about that. It's all about the real needs. And just remember that with Uranus and Taurus here, we're waking up to where in our childhood our real needs weren't met. You know, the real needs are to be loved, to have warmth and safety and comfort and connection. That's all about Taurus. And then also to be seen and heard and understood. That brings in the Gemini, communication. But then, we could put all the signs and planets in that one, because when we have when we've been seen and heard and understood in a healthy way as a little one, we grow up with a pretty good amount of creative self-expression. So as adults, if we don't meet the pain of not being seen and heard and understood, or meet the pain of not being loved, or meet the pain of not having the connection that we needed. If we don't meet all those pains and process it through and do our grief work and clear it out and come back home to yourself, then we're going to attract it from the outer world through our relationships. And Uranus here is helping us wake up to that, right? When the nodes were in, because the nodes always go backwards, when they were in Gemini and Sag, it was all about trying to find the truth in Sag and then listening and discerning and, making those distinctions. That would bring in Virgo as well, but, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So we had a lot of that for a whole year and a half. Now we're into, okay, we know who's been lying, we know who's been cheating, we know who's been trying to take advantage of the systems that were in place. We had Saturn and Pluto together up here, remember back then? And now all of humanity is witnessing, because remember, we still have this backdrop going on here with Saturn squaring the nodes, right? And that will still be continuing on. Oh goodness, is it November? I forget. I think it's November 16th. That it's in this tight orb. So we're still continuing on with this. Saturn's in T-square up here, so up at the apex, influencing. And Saturn in Aquarius, of course, has to do with humanity. And the nodes are helping us figure out, what do we want? And Uranus is helping us to make the changes, helping us to wake up to those changes. So both the nodes are asking us to demand and pass new laws from Congress and Biden. We got to get him involved. I mean, everything. We need all of them to get new laws to create safety. So this is all about gun safety. Scorpio can be about, revenge and resistance and digging your heels in because, you just want to hold on to your position of power. So with the government, Saturn government, in Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, we're thinking outside the box and we're waiting for them to wake up. We're having to demand. We're having to write. We're having to phone call. We're having to email, text, whatever we can to all of our representatives in order to pass those stricter gun laws so that our children are safe. With the Sun in Cancer, it's really up this month and into, towards the end of July. And then when it's in Leo, Cancer and Leo are all about protective love. So it's just going to heat up even more. So anyway, that's the backdrop, okay? And this is staying until, like I said, November, and then another level too, with Saturn. When Saturn's in retrograde, we always have to remember that Saturn rules structures, right? And this retrograde here won't be over until towards the end of October. And I remember that it goes back to about, I think, 18 degrees. It's gonna retrograde all the way back to 18 degrees Aquarius. And during this time, and so once it retrogrades, and once it's done retrograding and goes direct, then it has to go back and cross over. And I think it's when it started the retrograde, I think it was at 25. I could be wrong about that, 25 degrees or so. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is the important thing is that this is a time of our karma. Saturn is karmic. And, in terms of manifestation, like we're learning to understand what works and what doesn't. So what have we invested in? And how's that working out? How are we mastering areas of our lives that we've worked hard, to manifest? What structures have we created, or what structures are going to be broken down because, if you're a dirty politician that's just taking money, and not caring about your people that you've vowed to protect, I'm thinking you're going down at some point. You at least won't be reelected. But I think, with Pluto up here in Capricorn, in this nice trine to the North Node, right? And it's retrograde. And so it's going to go back even further. Well, the nodes go backwards too. So, but the connection is still here in this orb. So there's more power with us people than these dirty government officials, dirty, corrupt officials, than we realize. And we have to take back that power. And that is what this square here to Mars, look at that. And as Mars goes, you can see Mars is at 23 degrees. As Mars moves forward, and it moves pretty quickly, it's going to come into an exact orb. So, but it's good enough there. And so squares are challenges. Mars is about action. It's about getting things done. It's about moving energy. It's about self-assertion, questioning people's motivations. It's about our personal boundaries and territory that we want to move our energy into. And if the government is trying to hold us back and say, we can't have control over our bodies, or we don't have protection for our rights, right? I mean, we're dealing with protection of LGBT rights, or we're dealing with, Roe v. Wade, right? We're dealing with all of this. And so things are heating up and people are getting angry because Mars has already, done its crossover was up here in Pisces. And, Jupiter's holding space there for the healing to happen, and Mars is crossed over and picked up that power, and it's moving forward into, the later degrees that are very potent. So we can expect things to be heating up. And the challenge for the people with this square to Pluto, the challenge can be to hold your ground, hold your own, and especially with the Scorpio South Node here, we're in this place of being able to get something done and then turn this challenge here into a strength. Because we're not going to, if we can assert ourselves and take a stand for what we want, we can teach these government officials some lessons. Because Saturn is all about lessons. So karmic lessons. And when Saturn's retrograde, it's the perfect time to review. Review. What have you been trying to create, and how's that going for you? So in our personal lives, I'm thinking it can go really well because we're mastering something. So wherever this is, this configuration here showing up in your natal chart, it's intense and it's important. So and if you don't, understand that in your natal chart at all, hit me up for a reading and I'll get that down for you. I have to do your natal chart first, but then, we can do the transits and the progressions and solar arcs and solar return, your birthday return, all of that. But okay, so this is the backdrop that will be in play all week long, as well as Neptune here in Pisces, holding that compassionate spiritual source energy to the past, right? To the people of the past who have been working hard spiritually. We've got this beautiful water trine here. And Pisces wants to, it's on one level, it kind of wants to expand to the nth degree, where there's just no bound, it's boundless. But it also wants to complete things and be better because of all the work done in the past. So that's why, it's a nice, because Scorpio goes deep, and then Pisces like synthesizes and brings things together because it's so sensitive. And Neptune will dissolve and sensitize, but it will dissolve whatever didn't work in the past. So can you see the beauty of the transits we're having right now, where we get to test? We've been testing all along, but now we're at this critical juncture here with Saturn and T-square to the nodes. We get to see how the past has created our present time and how we can actually change our future with Uranus here. I mean, the transits could not be any better for supporting us on our spiritual path and helping us to understand that we're the ones that create our own reality. It's not perfect. I keep saying that every week. I think it's not perfect. Life on Earth isn't perfect, and you just can't judge yourself for when things go wrong. Please don't ever do that. But just know that your life doesn't lie. It expresses exactly what you believe. Not to the nth degree, because again, just like I said, it's not perfect here on Earth, but generally, right? So if you don't love yourself and you don't believe in self-love, or you don't care about being in truth, if you don't care about being connected to your spirit, you're going to be blaming. You're going to be blaming other people in the outer world. You're going to be blaming outside yourself. And when you turn that all around and realize, wait, I'm the one that can control this, and you test it out, if you don't believe me, just test these things out. Saturn's all about testing. And with Neptune in Pisces, we're kind of like testing the limits spiritually to see maybe my consciousness really does create. Maybe I am a co-creator. And maybe I just need to surrender my ego to a greater reality that's within. The universe is within every single cell in our body. I mean, just study quantum physics for a week and your mind will be blown. Like inside the atom, inside the nucleus of every cell in our body, the universe it's 99 something percent like empty space that we get to fill the void with. So what do we want to fill the void with? What do we want to create in our lives? That divine spark that can create something brand new by your attitudes, your actions, your feelings, and your pure feelings will be connected to your spirit. Your emotional reactions will be connected to the past. So if you're having emotional reactions, if you're angry all the time, or if you're having trouble just being happy with yourself, then that's a sign that there's something in the past that's bubbling up from childhood, right? Again, back to those unmet real needs. And the big message here I want you to, walk away with today or move through life with is that you have to meet the pain of the unmet real needs, but you don't have to do a lot of work. You just have to know what they are. They are to be loved. The real needs are to love and be loved, actually, to connect, right? To connect with others, and we're all interdependent on each other, I should say. And then to have our creative self-expression. So there you are. And don't judge whatever your creative self-expression is. I mean, it can be as simple as silently, preparing a really healthy meal for yourself. Or it can be the way you love your pets and take care of them. It can be the way you take care of yourself. But it's all about love. It's all about pleasure and positive pleasure. And that's what the highest levels of Venus and Taurus are all about. And so we're waking up to that. And that will continue as these two get closer and closer together. And like I keep saying, it's July 31st that there's an exact conjunction at 18 degrees Taurus. And by that time, Mars will be here too. So that's where we're headed. We're all headed to waking up to pure positive pleasure. Now, if you go to a place where you're, so you're kind of, it's a thing of like riding this wave of delving back into the past and meeting the pain, but then going for the pleasure. And to the degree that you meet the pain, the degree you're also open to the pleasure. But if you're stuck in negative pleasure is going to be things like judging yourself, judging others, comparing yourself to others, comparing others to others, right? Like all of that. It's going to be compulsions of numbing out, and the numbing out happens whenever we have those unmet real needs. That's what when we were really little, we had to numb out in order to survive. That's the only way we could have survived with parents who did not meet our real needs. And then as adults, we have to dissolve that numbing that we went through. We have to, and the way you dissolve it is through meeting the pain, right? And you know what that feels like. I know you know it. I know you know that, or there's a part of you that maybe hasn't been able to articulate it, but I know that you've had all the same experiences that I've had, where anytime I've met my emotional pain, you're going through it and it sucks at first. I mean, you're bawling your head off and everything's swelling up and you're just like, you know what it's like. But then don't you notice that you feel way more alive than ever? And don't you notice that later on, you're open to so much more joy and beauty in life? I know you guys have gone through that. So that's what this is all about. And so now I want to focus into, actually, let's see. I'm thinking things are probably about the same. What's the difference here? Yeah, they're all the same. I'm going to move on to Monday. Okay. And go and focus in here on the sun. Well, hold on. Yeah, okay, let's go. Let me rewind. You don't have to rewind. I have to rewind. Okay, so Mercury at this 14 degrees trine here is trining Jupiter. So that combo here can be very healing for the way you think about yourself in life. And that would apply to everything that I was just giving voice to for quite a long time. Now, the Venus and the Moon are conjunct. So Venus gives voice to everything I was talking about before, with meeting the real needs and unifying places that are split off inside where you didn't know that you didn't have your needs met, right? And Venus connects with how we relate to each other, how we socialize, how we love and how we love ourselves. And again, everything I was talking about how we what we value, and it's our personal finances. It's very like second. It rules the second house. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, so it actually rules the second house and the seventh. So again, we're talking with the second house. We're talking our personal finances. And with Libra in the seventh, house, we're in that realm of how we relate to others, and how we value that, and how that brings in the opportunity to create, finance, money, and how we manifest tangible assets with Taurus. So Venus is tangible and sensual. And then with the moon, bringing in the moon in Gemini, that's all about our moods and our feelings. So this morning, at the very least, but I would say moving all the way through, all the way through into Monday, it's about, with the moon in Gemini, we're going to be talking more about how we feel and what we want to bring in. And with this, with Chiron here, oh my goodness, actually, you know what? Hold on, I got this backwards. It's Jupiter trining, but it's a 7-degree orb. It's really the whole thing, you guys. All right, I just have to talk about the whole thing all together. We have to bring in Chiron. So everything I just said still applies. But Chiron, actually, in hindsight, everything I just talked about for the last 20 minutes. Everything I talked about, because it's about healing. It has to do with Jupiter's healing, Chiron's healing. If you're having trouble in the healing department, I just explained why, right? If you're having trouble in relationship issues, I explained why. So yeah, all right. I don't need to talk about it anymore. With the Sun square here to Jupiter, is that tomorrow too? Yeah, okay, so let's move on. So everything I gave voice to, we can just keep going because I've talked about everything here. And the only thing that's missing is this Sun square to Jupiter, and it's tightening up in orb. Let me make sure this is still straight here. Yeah, okay. So see how the Sun is here, Jupiter here at, 7 degrees, come on, 7 degrees Aries. And then we've got the Sun here at 5 degrees. So as the Sun moves this way, it's going to come into, let's make up a funny word and call it exactitude. And I'm leaving out this sesquisquare and the semi-square just because these videos are getting way too long, and they're minor aspects, but the Sun in Cancer is going to be helping everyone to get into our creative mojo, to get into what we want to grow in our lives. It's all about nurturing what we want to grow. And that's the challenge here. That's the only challenge, but it's a good challenge. And it's cardinal, both Aries and Cancer, and Libra and Capricorn are cardinal energy. Cardinal means that the energy, it moves energy. There's movement. And it's instinctual, and oftentimes if it's impulsive, you have to be careful. But with this challenge here, I'm thinking with Jupiter, it's like you want to make big moves, but then the Sun in Cancer can be like the reality check of like, oh, wait, I feel kind of insecure about that. Cancer can be very insecure. I just tuned into something else on another level. Wow. This is totally off. I'll have to come right back to it. This is totally different, but I just looked at Mercury conjunct the moon here. And it's reminding me of what I read. A little alert popped up on my phone today that the FDA was taking off those vape, taking off the market. They're taking off the, what are those things called? Juul or something like that? These e-cigarettes, they're taking them off the market because they had been marketed with like all this, you know, fruity flavors and menthol and all of that, and kids, young kids got hooked on them. So, you know, they were able to get them even, well, it doesn't even matter if they're 18, 21, whatever. If they're around the house, other kids are going to grab them, and older kids are going to buy them for the younger kids, and the older kids shouldn't be smoking them either. But I was looking at these two, and I was thinking, I just kind of went into like lungs and then wetness. And it reminded me of the vaping pens and the, you know, like when you take in, like smoke is one thing, but when it's wet smoke, that's tricky. So anyway, in working through any addictions, with this polarity of Taurus and Scorpio, and especially to the trine over here to Neptune, it's very supported at this time. Any of us can do it. We just have to keep at it and create a healthy substitute. So if you're used to sucking on something, make it something healthy until you get past that place of needing to suck on something. Or, you know, changing foods that are healthy, drinking, you know, less, I suppose, or not at all if you can't control it. Wherever you're having self-control issues and impulsiveness, then we know that if we're in a compulsion, we're probably in an addictive type of behavior, and that would be even OCDs and all of that. But all of these transits support coming back into our power and then moving forward into more positive pleasure rather than addiction, and rather than letting people in the government abuse us, right? Because Pluto can be abuses of power. But so let me go back to this here. Jupiter in Aries can help us forge new healing frontier in our lives. And the Sun in Cancer can help us continue to just nurture it. Just keep focusing on what you want to grow. Just know that the time is going to be passing and going by. So where do you want to be next month? You know what I mean? Where do you want to be by the 4th of July in your life, personally? Or where do you want to be next year? Or 10 years or 5 years? And, you know, don't push yourself hard, but work on what you want and go towards that, rather than getting stuck in all the ways of thinking that you are stuck forever and you can't get out of it. Because you're not in truth if you're thinking that way. Because that's not who we are. We are creators. So, okay. So I think that's it with that. All right, let's move forward into Tuesday. Tuesday's when Neptune goes retrograde. It happens at 12:55 a.m. Pacific time. And you can see here, so we went from, it's still the same, 25 to 26 minutes, but it's now that any of these numbers that are red, no, not the signs, but any of these numbers, except for the nodes, you don't pay attention to retrograde nodes, it just doesn't mean a thing. The reds mean retrograde. All right, so here, hold on, let me grab a pen real quick. So we have Neptune retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Pluto retrograde. Nodes don't matter, and that's it. Mercury's not retrograde. Phew, right? And we're even out of the shadow. We're out of the retro shade. Okay, so Neptune retrograde means that it's going to go back just a little. It's only, it's going to retrograde until December 3rd. Did starting, here on the 28th, but it'll go. I forgot to check and see what degree it'll retrograde back to. I'll have to figure that out and check it out for next week. Or do I have hold on, let me see. Oh, you know what? If I go into my app and try to figure it all out and go back, it'll take too long, actually. I'll get it. I'll get the degree later. It won't be that much, because it moves so slow. Neptune takes 164 years to get around the zodiac, and it spends 14 years in one sign. So, yeah. But anyway, so this retrogradation process, remember, retrograde always means reviewing, renewing, revamping, whatever. Okay? So spiritual, all things spiritual. Neptune is all about everything spiritual. It's like our universal connection, or our connection with our universal spirit, our connection with the universe, and how we're all connected together. It's all things spiritual. It's everything we will devote ourselves to. It's our connection to, like, the heart of hearts. It's our connection to art, all things beautiful, film, and Pisces both. Neptune and Pisces both rule film, and everything that we create and put out on video, that's a Neptunian thing. Let's see, what else? It can be when it's done right, it can be our spiritual sensibility. Now, with that, when I say that, I mean our connection to always asking for what the real truth is. And we're all going to have our personal truth, but our personal truth and our own unique, personal, individual, spiritual path is linked to the truth of the greater absolute truth, because we're all here in order to transform ourselves and heal. And I love that everything's retrograde, so we can look at Saturn here, right in the middle, holding space for our physical experience to teach us how well we're doing with our spiritual work, and then our issues of self-empowerment that help to heal our souls with Pluto. And so this trine to the South Node is going to continue, because these two are going to inch closer together over the months, right? With Neptune here, with this trine to the South Node. Remember, the South Node's the past. And so they're going to be in orb for quite some time. So this is going to help us go back to past lives. It's going to help us go back to our dream time. Keep those little dream journals next to your bed. And it doesn't have to be much other than just a little snippet of what was that first thing when you first woke up. Or if you wake up in the middle of the night to go, to use the restroom, what was that? Oh my goodness, what was I just thinking? What was that dream? What was I just doing in that dream? And, jot down a few little notes. And then go back to sleep, and what I'd like to do is take a little snippet of a dream or a memory of the dream, and then ask questions about that. Like, what does that mean? What are you trying to teach me? Because it's always our spirit going back to our spiritual home when we're sleeping, right? Or like that, they call it the silver cord, when that connection that's never broken. And what happens is that we get information. We're getting downloads in dream time. Also in meditation, this is all excellent for meditation. So we're talking transformation of the past in order to bring ourselves more present and current into current reality. So let's say you had a past life where you died in a dungeon. Well, we're not getting locked up for not paying our bills anymore. Or we're not getting locked up for practicing a religion that was more bound to the earth rather than whatever. Those things aren't happening anymore. We're still having to fight for democracy and justice. That's that. But with this Neptune retrograde and the way this whole chart is set up, everything that I'm telling you now will play out over the months. So whatever you're wanting to heal from the past, that's the support there. And then with Saturn here, retrograde, trining over to the moon in Gemini. Look at that. This event is all about gathering information about how you've been doing manifesting here, right? And so blend those energies together. We're thinking manifesting from your dreams, hopes, and wishes, and all of humanity should be doing that. And if they're not, they're going to learn. They're going to learn it at some point in their evolution, in some lifetime. And the moon brings in that added quality of thinking more and more and more about what you really want. And with Venus holding space in Gemini again, and Mercury's there, there's just so much energy there to help us really get what we want. And then with the Sun in Cancer, and this, not only the Sun in Cancer, but this inconjunct here from Pluto, we can make all the adjustments that are needed. Even though, some astrologers say that all these two planets these two signs don't really talk well to each other. I don't agree with that. I just don't. And the reason why is because everything is all connected. When it comes into an exact aspect, which is what an inconjunction, quincunx, try to say that fast 5 times. When the quincunxes connect and the inconjunctive, same thing. It's a very tight orb. See, 28 degrees, 27 degrees. We're talking a degree and a half to 2 degrees is, we don't really go outside of that. So when it comes up, and this would be for this whole Neptune retrograde period, this is in play, even though the moon's going to move, but this is an event. And when this exact event happens, we want to look at everything that's going on. So everything I've been talking about for the last 40 minutes is true. And now that we bring in the moon, the moon is our emotional body that can talk to our soul. So the reason I don't believe that two signs don't talk to each other, that's like saying that my eyes, which are, eyes are ruled by Aries and Mars, and they don't talk to, like they wouldn't talk to my feet or my hands or any other part of my body. That doesn't make sense to me. Our minds and our emotional bodies are not disconnected. That's just a false kind of a narrative or belief or whatever that's been out there. Remember way back in the day, probably when Neptune was in its early degree of Pisces, there was so much talk about mind, body, spirit. It was always mind, body, spirit. Everything was mind, body, spirit. Well, the mind, body, spirit has never been separate. So there's that. But for some people, they're just waking up to that. For some people, they're just now learning that. So it's all beautiful. But here we've got manifestation body. Here we've got the mind. Spirit's over here. It's all one. And it always has been. We're just now finding new language to talk about it. So, okay, so the other thing that I'm drawn to here is this Mars square to Pluto. Because, again, like I was saying before, this is an event chart and this is going to be an orb. So, asserting ourselves against people in government who are trying to make those power moves. Arbitrary authority is what I get with these two together. And nobody wants somebody telling you how to move through your life and take care of your life and take care of your body, right? So Mars can fight, and in Aries it can be feisty. Mars definitely moves energy. It activates. It helps us get motivated. So what are we motivated about? Well, I don't think any of us want the government telling us how to take care of ourselves or making reproductive decisions for us, right? Another thing we could talk about here with this, just to go into a little bit of mundane astrology, just to name it. I don't want to talk a lot about it, but we're talking oil, gas, oil, and the power of all of that. And the travel issues, that's another part of the whole part of the Saturn square, the nodes. That's travel issues. In Aquarius, these are the travel issues, because they're not getting the pilots. They're not getting they can get the gas, and they just charge you more for it. They get the petrol fuel. And man, the airplane, the jet fuel, whoa, that stuff is expensive. And so that's why all the, travel doesn't matter if you're driving or whatever, unless you're in a horse and buggy. Getting around, or unless you're on a bike or an electric bike, or if you have an electric car, all of that, it's going to be more expensive getting around. Getting around by gas is going to be more expensive. Heating with gas is going to be more expensive. So it's all right here. Neptune to the south node, and Saturn squaring the nodes. Pluto, especially in Capricorn, and this adjustment to our thinking, the new thoughts and ideas that need to come in to liberate ourselves off of energy. To be more energy independent, to liberate ourselves off of oil, and especially foreign oil, which, really probably can't be done, because we don't have all the oil here. So, yeah, so there's that. But, we need clean energy alternatives, and that's the inventions for that. Uranus is all about invention and innovation. So that can be accomplished, and it is being accomplished. We just need to keep fighting for that. And then everything else that I spoke to about healing. So this, actually, all of this that I spoke to in the beginning, that first 20 minutes or so about healing, are ourselves. I'll just say ourselves, and you put it into whatever department of your life you want. That's all supported here too. So over these months, that is the main thing that we're all going to be nurturing and tuning into. And remember, with the sun in Cancer, Cancer is all about intuition and home and hearth and rootedness, and bringing in our security. Our inner security can shift and heal. Our ability to set really healthy boundaries and protect ourselves, that can come through. And if we're going through any issues that need to be healed around codependency, like if you have some codependent tendencies where you want to try and help heal everyone, whether or not they're wanting to be healed and they're just wanting to suck off of you instead, those issues are up for healing. And then also, taking care of our elderly who are now vulnerable and who can't take care of themselves anymore. All of these issues are up for healing, but those are always up for healing. But we have to think even more about what is best for all of humanity. And we're dealing with the Saturn rules the elderly, rules time, and because it's trining to the moon here, this is over. We're being more sensitized. This is over this period of Neptune retrograde. So nurturing and trying to come up with even better ways to help the elderly in the last stages of life on planet Earth. But they've got a lot to teach us too, because they're going back and forth between the spiritual realm and the physical realm in their consciousness. And whenever they do that, I don't care how, I mean, unless they're just totally out of it and can't communicate at all, or can't draw or color, or can't, do anything with their eyes and hands. And if they just are totally out of it, then that's another case. But then it's about keeping them comfortable, of course. And in this Mars, sextile Saturn here does support that. New ways to take care of that. But most of all, with the Sun in Cancer here, making that in conjunct to what will we give our power to, and what will we nurture and fight for? I should probably, because the Moon is ruled by. Cancer is ruled by the Moon, so I'm wanting to kind of glom this together here, because I'm reading symbology, energy and consciousness, actually. And then with Pluto sextiling Neptune, again, the power of sensibility, the power of being more sensitive and compassionate, nurturing, compassionate energy. Yeah. Okay, and then Tuesday, we have the Cancer new moon. Look at that, at 7 degrees, 7 degrees Cancer, okay? So because I've already spoken so much to everything else, so everything else that I spoke to is there in this as well, okay? So now I'm just going to focus in on the moon. We have a T-square going on here, just like we have to Saturn. So we have, it's hard to see, but here, I'll draw it in. Okay, so here's the new moon in Cancer, 7 degrees, 22 minutes Cancer, wherever that lands in your chart. That's where you can plant the new seeds of consciousness that you want to grow. But notice how we've got this square over to Jupiter here. So it's going to be a process, and don't worry about it, but it's going to be one of those processes of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. You're going to have false starts, and you might kind of stop and regroup, but then keep going. That's what I want to say. Keep going. Keep going to what you really, really, really want to grow. And keep nurturing yourself. Keep working on yourself. The more you work on yourself, the more you work on your false beliefs, meet the pain, question the false beliefs, the more you get out of that past, and it's all here, everything I talked about in the beginning, the more you do that, the more your intuition and psychic abilities will open. And that is a spiritual law. Because the more you shed those layers that are on top of your spirit, which are the false beliefs and the pain and the numbing out and everything that I talked about before, then you just are automatically who you naturally, truly are. It's not about becoming something that you're wanting to be. It's about shedding the layers that are covering up all of who you truly are. Right? I can't really find a simple way to say that other than you're not becoming somebody. You're just shedding the layers that were on top of your true divine light, your cosmic consciousness. So in addition to the Saturn squaring the nodes, okay, including Uranus there, you can see. We've got Saturn squaring Jupiter for this new moon. So again, it's everything I talked about in the beginning about testing your limits and testing to see what's working right and what isn't. And, take with the Cancer, with the new moon in Cancer, it gives us the opportunity to take a whole new plant some new seeds and take a whole new track. But it's like the crabs in the ocean. They go back and forth. Then they go forward when they feel safe. And they go back and forth. They're kind of waddling around. With Aries combined with Jupiter and Aries, it's going to be more like whoop, and then whoa. It's like, oh, I went too far. Oh, and then you're going to come back and go, am I safe? So just let yourself be with it. Just let yourself have it. It's no big deal. And with the new moon here, so this is kind of setting up the chart for the experience up until the full moon in Capricorn when that comes. I forget what day. It's July. Oh, I totally forget. I forget. I'll have to look. But anyway, that'll be, it's not next week, it's a week after, of course, because it's always 2 weeks after the new moon. But anyway, so Saturn trining Mercury here in Gemini. That is fantastic. That's fantastic for figuring out what works and what doesn't. What worked and what did, here's the past, here's the past. This has been the past over a long period of time. Well, the South Node is too. Testing to see what works and then making those adjustments around what didn't. But don't give up on yourself. Never ever give up on yourself. Just keep going for it. So, okay. So then Thursday, let's see, because this is Tuesday. Yeah, I skipped Wednesday because there wasn't much happening. So I thought, why bother? Why save some ink and paper here? And then everything, let's see. Well, we have those two inconjuncts there. Let's see. Mars has inched forward quite a little bit. We've got a T-square going on here. So this is important. So Mars at 26 degrees, squaring Pluto at 27. And then over here, squaring the moon at 24. So at 6 a.m. Thursday morning, I'm thinking we're going to wake up going, well, you might just like jump out of bed and hit the floor running or whatever, because we've got cardinal energy and we want to get something done. Especially because the moon is in opposition to Pluto here. So there's that T-square that I was talking about. And so we've got a confrontation with power because you know the right way to go and you need to trust your intuition. Now, this can be a breakthrough. Oppositions don't have to be conflict and they don't have to be confrontation. They can be breakthroughs because if you know who you truly are, and maybe somebody's coming in over here from the side trying to tell you to do something their way, but you it triggers you in a place where you already have really healthy boundaries, you're going to say something to whoever this is coming in over here, right? With Mercury and Gemini, I'm thinking something with the news by then. Because we're talking news, and then we've got a little adjustment to make from the past. Oops, I almost dropped the lid. Something from the past about people who are trying to control things comes out on the news, and we're all like, hey, wait a minute, what are we going to do about this? So there could be family arguments. You got to be careful on this day. There could be family arguments, and especially because of this inconjunct up here to Saturn, family arguments about the government. Some people like what they're doing or like what they have done in the past, and they want to keep things the same way. I don't think that's going to work out so well. If you just look at the image here, it's my other chopstick. It's like we've got a crossroads here, right? It's like, wait a minute. And it's like spidey senses down here around, something that triggers your antenna and goes, something's not right. So if this happens in your personal life, trust your feelings, trust your intuition. If the hair goes up on the back of your neck around something or somebody, trust that. Trust that and set that healthy boundary. Don't let whoever this is over here that's trying to say, oh, don't worry, it's no problem because they want what they want. You know, that's gaslighting. Or it's them just going for what they want and they don't know that what's over here isn't safe. You know, what's coming in over here through your front door or knocking on your front door might not be safe. So you want to be careful with that. Trust your intuition. Trust your body. Trust your sight, your smell, all of your senses, like your inner fox or your inner doggy. Trust those senses. And that is especially true because we've got this grand water trine here between Neptune, the south node, and the moon at 24 degrees Cancer. That's fantastic. So this can be a very, very creative day. There can be a lot of powerful energy to get things done that can be kind of like, it can be a little challenging in the morning because it can be, I'm thinking, really busy. But then once you make those adjustments to settle into the structure that you want to create and you stick with your feelings, this can be an excellent day. And we have this opportunity here. Check out this aspect of the architect going on here between the Uranus and the North Node. So the future and waking up and invention and innovation. Over here, freedom. Over here, sextiling the moon. So trusting your spidey senses. And then you've got all of your gifts from the past to support you. And I always look at this, the aspect of the architect as a lever law. So that's like, it's like everything falls into place and now the door opens. Everything that maybe all you needed to do to heal everything from the past and move forward in the right direction or direction that's right for you was just to trust your intuition. So that's beautiful. Absolutely fantastic there. And then all of the other transits that I spoke to before, they're the bigger ones, they're still in play. Nothing's changed there. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Friday. And yep, everything's the same. The sun's at 9 degrees Cancer. It's a little semi-square or sesqui-square to Saturn, but it's just a little, might be a little stubborn about maybe not feeling as safe and secure as you want to, but let the Leo moon, let the moon in Leo guide you. Let yourself have more courage to trust your feelings. Actually, oops, wrong color here. I was thinking like illumination with the moon, and then I grabbed yellow. Okay, so right here, see this trine over here to Jupiter? So that's a natural affinity. These two signs are both fire signs. And so there's a lot of movement today on Friday. There's a lot of movement that's going to be happening. And especially as it gets more into orb, it probably, I ran this chart at 6 a.m., but I think this is another one of those mornings where we might wake up even earlier. And because it's within orb way back here. So anyway, be bold, be courageous, be in your love, be in your heart. Leo is all about sharing your love, sharing your courage. It has to do with your own sense of self, your own self-confidence. It has to do with our kids, our children. If there's any trouble during the day, it will be if they're not recognized and not being paid attention to, or if anybody's making fun of them. That's going to be very painful. So take care of the little ones, to watch out for that. But yeah, it feels like it's a good day. It's a good day because we're talking fire signs. And uh, as it moves, as the Leo moon moves forward, we'll have a natural trine to Chiron, and then there's opportunity for healing. Even more deeply, Jupiter is very healing too. Jupiter's all about inspiration, healing and inspiration, and moving forward with something brand new. It rules, like that movement over the ocean, and it can be think of like the oceanic, like the soul, but it can also be literally like a cruise ship kind of a thing. Fun, lots of fun on a cruise ship. What else? Let's see. Jupiter is very generous, so there can be some spontaneous with Aries energy, some very spontaneous, generous love that comes through. Or just, some kid or someone in a friend or family or whatever who is just being themselves, because we're talking Leo here. It's like just, oh, and I know I have chills. Just be on the lookout for people just being their natural, beautiful selves, and then give them lots of love for that. Because, it's a good thing to see. It's such a gift. It's such a gift to have someone entertain you from the depth of who, their spontaneous, real love, like the depth of who they are. And another thing that Jupiter is all about is not judging harshly. It's about being, what's the word with that? Non-judgmental. That would be it. Being non-judgmental, because you're coming from your heart. Let's see. The other aspects are so small, and the other ones are the same. So I'm going to move forward. And then Saturday, now you can see that we do have that exact trine from Chiron. So I'll talk about Chiron for a minute, and that's trining over to the moon. So everything, actually, it's probably everything I just said, because Chiron heals. So Chiron can definitely be it used to be called the wounded healer, but the truth is about Chiron is that the gifts are underneath the wounds. So when you work through your wounding, your gifts come out. And so with Aries, remember, Aries is about your own individual, asserting your own individuality. And with the moon, there's all that beauty and love for that spontaneous, real self coming through, because you've healed that place where you belong to yourself. You know you matter. You are daring to move forward on your own path and just be yourself. And that's what's on the table for the whole day. And I noticed it came exact here, so I ran it for 5 a.m. Saturday morning, rather than, because at 6 a.m. it was out of orb. But I'm sure next week when we start off, it depends what happens in the middle of the night, but I'm thinking that it could be a Mars trine the moon over here. But Mars will probably move forward a little bit. I'll have to look at that next week. But, I always upload these early enough so you get them ahead of time. So let's see, is there anything else? The moon is squaring the nodes. Ooh, look at this, you guys. We have a grand square. Just like I have in my natal chart. Thank God I outgrew that. Anyway, so here we go. Moon squaring exactly Uranus. And then up to the south node. And the north node's involved, right? And then it's opposing Saturn. Check that out. That's a whole lot. A whole lot of what? A whole lot of can be challenges that can turn into a lot of strength. But it depends. So this is July 2nd. This is moving into the July 4th weekend. I would not be traveling. I would not be planning big old firework events out in the public. Because I'm seeing rebellion right here. You know, this is like the stupid stuff, like people shooting guns straight up in the air and not thinking about where the bullet lands. Or people firing off M80s and not caring about people's pets, other people's pets, or anyone else but themselves. Look at this exact square to Pluto here. There's a whole lot of action. Mars to Pluto. Mars is like Pluto's little brother. So Mars in Aries at this late degree Aries is wanting something that's really probably just all about themselves. Mars in Aries can be very accident prone. And squaring to Pluto, there could be some really challenging lessons around that, and that's especially true because of Saturn squaring the North and South Node. We've got disruption here with with Uranus, up to Aquarius and Saturn. This could be hard lessons, people that need to get their lessons the hard way. So I would stay home this 4th of July, you guys. Seriously. I stay home every 4th of July because this is not one of those things that I have been into celebrating for years. I don't like being in the smoke of the fireworks. I like watching them. I have an airport not too far from me, and I literally can look out my windows and look at the fireworks that they shoot off over there, and it's cool. But I wouldn't go and be there in the bleachers or hang out on the grounds because I don't like that kind of smoke. And people drink and shoot guns and just put the combinations together here. Guns, fireworks. People being headstrong and wanting their own way. People being patriotic, in fiery, expressive Leo, and pissed off about the past, okay? I don't like this at all, the more I'm looking at it. And with Saturn trining Mercury, I'm kind of wondering, so with the January 6 hearings, this is great. But I'm kind of wondering if there's some other reasons other than they just want to get in more information or all the information they can that they're putting off after today's, which I haven't watched yet. They're putting off hearings until July. And remember, this Mars is moving towards Uranus, and the North Node's moving towards Uranus, and these three planets are going to meet up at 18 degrees, July 31st. This is explosive right here. All of these aspects are explosive. I would just be careful. I would be very careful traveling if you have to travel for work. If you can't reschedule and you can't put it off, just be careful. Very careful. Don't get into an argument with anyone. It's great for spiritual work with these other aspects. It's great for coming into your power and getting yourself going. It'll create strength if you can get through these challenges and just get the energy going. We've got the fire energy to go towards what we want, and the strength from the past. But I wouldn't be out joining protests. I wouldn't be out. I just wouldn't be out this day. If other astrologers are watching this and you see something that I'm not seeing, feel free to put your comments in, or anyone who's been studying astrology long enough to give voice to this. Feel free to comment if you're seeing something different than I am. Okay? But with that, I am going to just send you big hugs. Please take good care, and I'll be back soon. Okay, bye.